Ilia Topuria is officially ranked as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the UFC. And of course, this new ranking has caused a lot of debate, comparing Islam Makhachev to Ilia Topuria, because Islam Makhachev has been the #1 pound-for-pound fighter for a long while now. He's had dominant wins and hasn't lost. But Ilia Topuria's impressive recent run is undeniable. And now he's a champion at 2 weight divisions, which is just impressive. And of course, it makes sense why they bumped him to #1. But there's a serious argument to be had here, right? I'm not even gonna go into their fight styles. I think these guys have proven to be the most well-rounded fighters. Ilia Topuria has the most well-rounded record of all time. I've literally not seen any record as well-rounded as he is. Maybe Tom Aspinall, but that's even debatable. Topuria had all submissions before he joined the UFC, and since he joined the UFC, this man has had knockouts. It doesn't get more well-rounded than that. On the other hand, Islam Makhachev's performance in each of his fights shows how well-rounded he is. He's amazing on the feet, he's fantastic on the ground, so they cancel each other out, and that's why them fighting each other is a super fight. But I feel like a lot of people are having recency bias, right? Of course, coming off the high of Ilia Topuria's historic reign right now. On the other hand, people are rightfully respecting Islam Makhachev's achievement, but there is this great resistance of Ilia Topuria's greatness. I mean, the guy has already proven he's one of the greatest fighters, but a bunch of people are still, finding it hard to accept it. And I understand it. I totally understand it. The man talks his shit. He says what he wants to say, doesn't have any filter, and he does exactly what he says he's going to do. And unfortunately, this man is knocking out all our favorite fighters. I mean, all my favorite fighters and the most well-loved best fighters. He's taking them out brutally. But at the end of the day, you cannot deny Ilia Topuria's greatness. When it comes to comparing Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev and seeing who the best fighter is, it comes down to 4 fighters, and that's Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, and Dustin Poirier. So it's obvious they've both fought the same fighters recently, with an exception of Holloway and Dustin Poirier. But those guys are very similar, so it's easy to compare those. And these 4 fighters that I've mentioned are great fighters in their own right. Anybody who's beating these guys has achieved something great, so I feel like they have a good category to compare to each other. Now, when we look at Ilia Topuria, of course, 7 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission, like I mentioned, 11 first-round finishes. I mean, absolutely impressive. Let's take a look at Ilia Topuria's last 3 fights. All right, of course, he knocked out Volkanovski. Volkanovski was winning that fight, but then Ilia Topuria came over, did what he did, and put him out. He then goes in, fights Max Holloway, absolutely knocks him out in the 3rd round. Holloway was doing good as well. Of course, we all know Holloway has a fantastic jab, keeping his distance, trying to avoid the impending inevitable damage, but it was pretty much the same thing. And the similar thing between Holloway and Volkanovski is the fact that when you watch that fight, it just looked like these guys were trying to avoid the inevitable. It was so obvious that this knockout was coming. And of course, worst of all, Charles Oliveira. I mean, absolutely destroyed Charles in round 1 like he said he was going to do. So no matter what you want to say, beating Volkanovski, Holloway, and Charles Oliveira back to back, knocking them out, it's freaking impressive. It doesn't matter what the condition is, it really does not matter, honestly speaking. But there's a caveat to that. If you're in this part of the video, please go ahead and hit that like button. It helps me a lot. Volkanovski was coming off a knockout from Islam Makhachev a few months earlier. I mean, if you've been watching the sport, it was obvious that Volkanovski was not supposed to be taking that fight. It was too early. First of all, he took the fight with Islam Makhachev on short notice, got knocked out, and then about 3 months later is back fighting Ilia Topuria. So that's something people can say, oh yeah, Volk wasn't supposed to be knocked out, he came off a knockout, he wasn't fully healed. Fair enough, but in all honesty, I don't really believe that. I believe that the ending of that fight would have been the exact same in Volkanovski's full healing, taking his time off, preparing, you know, having a full fight camp, all that stuff, I think he would have still been knocked out, because that's what Ilia Topuria does. The man knocks people out. And the fight with Max Holloway is the perfect example. Nobody has knocked Max Holloway out. Nobody has knocked Max Holloway down. Yeah, he was knocked down by Justin Gaethje at UFC 300, but whatever. The fact that that's a debate says it all. But this man knocked Holloway out in the 3rd round. In my opinion, that just shows you that he's just gonna knock these guys out regardless. I mean, look at what he did to Charles Oliveira as well. Beat Charles Oliveira in round 1. But again, the caveat to that is the fact that Charles Oliveira is obviously past his prime, right? He's been having inconsistent wins and losses. His performance has been declining a little bit. I mean, the guy couldn't finish Michael Chandler in their rematch, and this is someone who Paddy Pimblett made look really old. So it's fair to say Charles Oliveira is past his prime. He's not as good as he used to be. That is obvious. But again, I still think Ilia would have put his lights out, because that's exactly what he does. Now, when we look at Islam Makhachev's record, 15 fight win streak in the UFC, 5 wins by knockout, 13 wins by submission. Perfect. And of course, you can say Ilia Topuria is 17-0 undefeated. Very impressive. But Islam Makhachev is 2 fights short from Ilia Topuria's whole career, and we're just talking about Islam's record in the UFC. Absolutely amazing. Now, of course, we come to Islam Makhachev's record. Islam Makhachev, his first fight against Volkanovski, I mean, Volkanovski was on a 12 fight undefeated win streak in the UFC, was absolutely the #1 pound for pound fighter at the time. I mean, that's what that fight was for. Volk moving up to lightweight to fight Islam in order to determine who the true #1 pound for pound fighter was, because it was already kind of a debate at that time. So Islam Makhachev beat Volkanovski in his absolute prime. Granted, it was a war, it was kind of close, but you can't watch that fight and say Islam didn't win. He clearly won. And then, of course, he was supposed to fight Charles Oliveira. Fight got canceled. Charles got injured. He faces Volkanovski again in the rematch. Round 1 knockout. It's easy to say, oh yeah, you know, Volk was coming off the couch, which is fair. I mean, his physique says a lot in that fight. He wasn't ready. He didn't have a full fight camp. All fair things to say. But Volkanovski is one of the greatest fighters of all time, period. And Islam Makhachev knocks this man out in round 1. And then the next fight, Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. This was an absolute war, and Ilia Topuria definitely had to dig deep in this fight, but he still got the finish, a submission in round 5. Good win right there. Now, of course, people can easily say, yeah, come on, Dustin Poirier is not really on par with Islam Makhachev. They're levels above when it comes to comparing the type of fighters that they are. Well, you can say the same thing for Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria in hindsight. Although back then a lot of people were giving Max Holloway a chance, which I guess. Now, of course, Islam was supposed to fight Arman Tsarukyan. That would have been the fight that would have cemented this man's legacy. But of course, Arman pulled out, and then he fought Money Moicano. And you know, Retano Moicano, fun guy, but he's not that good. He's just really not that good, objectively speaking. Islam is levels above Retano Moicano, and he showed in the fight. He beat him and submitted him in round 1. He's beating these guys in their prime. He beat Volkanovski in his prime, beat Dustin Poirier in his prime. Of course, Retano Moicano, you know, he's all right. But Ilia Topuria has a lot of hiccups in his fights, because it's a good argument to say Volk wasn't supposed to be in that fight. It's a good argument to say Charles Oliveira is past his prime as well. So it makes sense to criticize it, but at the end of the day, when you watch these fights, watch Ilia Topuria's performance, those fights would have ended the same way, in my opinion. Now, there are 2 things we have to compare, right? When Islam Makhachev became the lightweight champion, when he beat Charles Oliveira was literally in his ultimate prime. He was on top of the world, having one of the most fun historic lightweight runs. He was on a 10 fight win streak, and he was just destroying guys. Of course, he was having wars, you know, he would get knocked down, all that stuff, but he'll come back and beat these guys. He was in his prime, but Makhachev destroyed him within 2 rounds and submitted the best submission artist in the UFC. Easy to say, yeah, Ilia Topuria's performance is more fun, it's more enjoyable, it's more historic. The way Islam Makhachev has been performing and beating these fighters when they're in their utmost prime, in my opinion, that's more impressive, right? There's no excuse on why Islam Makhachev beat these guys. There's no excuse for Charles Oliveira. 10-fight win streak, was the champion. No excuse for Volkanovski, undefeated in the UFC, #1 pound for pound fighter, and he beat him twice back to back. That's just facts, all right? Dustin Poirier, who is a legend in the sport, you know, of course you can say maybe he was getting to be out of his prime a little bit, but honestly speaking, not really. And he beat him, struggled a little bit, but he beat him. Now, when it comes to Ilia Topuria, there's an excuse you can say for every single one of his recent fights, right? Except Max Holloway. And if you're talking about struggling and not finishing, remember, Ilia Topuria did not finish Josh Emmett. He's finished everybody in the UFC except Josh Emmett, so that's kind of a stinger. Holloway is the most legit win in my opinion, because he was coming off knocking Justin Gaethje out, had a good momentum, so that was the perfect one. And in my opinion, I'm glad that happened, because that's proof that it doesn't matter if these fighters were coming off their prime or they were washed or whatever, it's the same results. Now, even if you want to do MMA math and be like, man, they didn't fight the same guys when it comes to Holloway and Poirier. Again, these guys are similar, and mind you, Poirier has beat Max Holloway twice. Now, they are set to fight a 3rd time, and I think he's still going to beat him the 3rd time, but it's 50-50 in my opinion. But I digress. Poirier has beat Holloway twice. So if you're doing MMA math, yeah, that's like a 1-up for Islam Makhachev, but we don't even need to go through that route. The thing is, Ilia Topuria has had a more entertaining run. I mean, the best type of finishes we love seeing is knockouts, or everybody appreciates someone who submits people, and having a finish is impressive, period. But we all love knockouts. We all love when a fighter says they're gonna do something, they go in there, do it exactly how they said they were going to do. And beating these guys back to back to back is just, like, I can't say this enough, it's highly impressive. It's not something that, it's not a fluke, all right? It's not a mistake. He's not having a lucky run, but people still push back on it. Now, the fact that Ilia Topuria has been able to do this between 2 divisions, I think is kind of giving him a hand up in this comparison. The man took over the featherweight division, left it for Volkanovski, came to the lightweight division, and now his champion, beating Charles Oliveira in such an impressive way. It's really hard to see someone perform like this and not put him as the #1 pound for pound fighter. But Islam Makhachev is set to fight Jack Della Maddalena. And I feel like a lot of people are making it seem like this is supposed to be some type of easy matchup. Okay, maybe not a lot of people, but I can't believe people are feeling like that's going to be some easy fight. It's really not. If Islam Makhachev beats JDM, and that's a huge if, bruh, of course we would have to revisit this debate again. They would probably put him back as the #1 pound for pound fighter, because I don't know, that might even be more impressive, because it's not like the welterweight is some schmuck. That's the best division right now. It's full of a bunch of killers right there, so it's not even gonna be an easy thing. But yeah, I think if Islam Makhachev is able to do that, then we have to revisit it. And this is just proof that these guys need to fight each other, man. These guys just need to fight each other. I mean, for a while now, I've been like, man, of course Islam moving up to fight JDM means way more for his legacy than beating Ilia Topuria. But after what Ilia Topuria did to Charles Oliveira, bruh, that's the fight I want to see. Of course, things are already set in motion. Islam is going to fight JDM. Tough fight in my opinion. But another question is, who should Ilia fight next while that is happening? It comes down to 3 fighters: Justin Gaethje, Arman Tsarukyan, and Paddy Pimblett. The least likely and the least one to make sense in my opinion is Justin Gaethje. I mean, he beat Fazaev twice, got knocked out by Max Holloway. It's like, no, nobody's interested in that. Arman Tsarukyan is 100% the most legit fight to make next, but Paddy Pimblett is the bigger fight. I mean, that fight is gonna sell. Paddy Pimblett is a very, very popular fighter. I think he has the skill set to make it a good fight. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm giving him such a big chance. That's not what I'm saying, but it's gonna be a good fight. People want to see that. These guys already have legit beef and it's set up, but Dana White is kind of confusing. Justin Gaethje was upset. He said he should be getting the title shot, and if he doesn't get it, he's thinking of retiring. And Dana is like, well, whatever, that's unfortunate, he's not getting it. They asked Dana White, okay, what about Arman Tsarukyan, would he get the title shot? And Dana White was like, well, Arman Tsarukyan has to put in some work. Okay. Paddy Pimblett steps into the octagon to do a face-off with Ilia Topuria after Ilia beats Charles Oliveira. Now, I don't know if Joe Rogan got misconstrued or he got word that was supposed to happen, but Dana White was not happy about that, and he was like, he doesn't know why he was let in there. That wasn't supposed to happen. So my question is like, so if you're saying things about these three guys, who the hell is next to fight Ilia Topuria? It's really confusing. In my opinion, it should be Arman Tsarukyan, but I see why they would make Ilia Topuria versus Paddy. That's a bigger fight, and I want to see that as well. But if Ilia beats Arman, bruh, I don't even think there's any point having this debate anymore. But like I said, if Islam beats JDM, then that's just the fight to make, man. Ilia versus Islam is the fight to make. These guys are the best fighters in the world. I can see an argument for either one, and honestly speaking, like it's just so close. It could go anyway. When we look at the pound for pound rankings here, which is another topic, right? Pound for pound rankings, of course, Ilia Topuria is at the top, which is what we've been talking about. But then you got Islam Makhachev number 2, Merab number 3, Dricus number 4, and Pantoja as number 5. It's really hard. It's really hard. In my opinion, you can either have Ilia Topuria as the number 1 pound for pound fighter or Islam Makhachev as the number 1 pound for pound fighter. But I think it makes sense that Merab is number 3. I mean, the guy is on, he's on an amazing win streak now. He's been a champion for a while. He's been looking better. But Pantoja is really close. In my opinion, he's been having impressive wins. He's been dominating the flyweight division. He's beat all the Kais. He's beat all the Brandons, if you know what I mean, and keeps looking better. So I would say number 3 should be Merab. Number 4 should be Pantoja, and Dricus can come in number 5. But you know what? I'm glad that Pantoja is finally in the top 5 pound for pound rankings. This is something that should have been done for a while. I think Pantoja is the most underrated and disrespected champion, but that is remedying a little bit. People are waking up to who Pantoja is. But that's it, man. You guys let me know in the comments, who do you think the number 1 pound for pound fighter should be between Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, and do you think it's close? And let me know what your top 5 pound for pound ranking is in the comments as well. Don't forget to like the video if you guys like the video. Appreciate you guys for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel.